What up, Dokkanners? The Heroes celebration has been underway for a couple of days now, and where the heck is the new banner? That is the number one question that everybody's been asking. So this video is going to be covering multiple topics. Number one, when is the new summon going to be dropping? When I think it is anyway. Number two, why I think you guys should not be summoning on the current Extreme Z banner yet. Number three, where does this leave Jiren? And number four, I want to once again discuss the tricky situation that is the month of November when it comes to Dokkan, because November is probably the worst month when it comes to Dokkan in terms of overall activity, because things are a little bit slower. So let's just start from the top and we'll work our way through, starting with the number one question: when is the new Heroes banner dropping? Number one answer, I don't know, because we don't have a data download. The data download tells us when the new characters are coming up, but the best way to predict when the characters are going to be dropping is based on the stone sales from the pre-existing Lord Slug Dokkan Festival celebration. The celebration stone sales are set to end November 10th at 7 a.m. for me, Pacific Standard Time. November 10th, 23:59 in Japan, which is basically November 11th. So to answer the question, I think the new summonable banner that features Universal Blue Goku and Emo Pigeon and company will be dropping November 11th. You're welcome. Anything more than that, I can't really say. I guess November 11th at 9 p.m. PST, because that's when the banner, the Extreme Z banner, dropped, I suppose. Why are they doing it this way? The only answer that I can logically think of is simply to appease the JP players a little bit, to not overwhelm the JP players. Global players, they don't care. They will drop multiple banners literally at the same time. They'll drop banners a week apart. They don't care about global players. But for JP, they don't want to disrupt the status quo by having banners drop at unnatural times outside of what they're normally accustomed to. This whole unification process is entirely dependent on Global's ability to catch up to JP. They do not want to disrupt the JP flow of time in order to accommodate the secondary version to catch up. So that's why I think they probably wanted to give JP players some time to breathe. After the Lord Slug banner dropped, they wanted to give at least a little bit over a week until it were to happen again, right? Because Lord Slug dropped October 30th. And so if the Heroes banner drops November 11th, that's basically a week and a half, which is not quite 2 weeks, but it's also a little bit under 2 weeks. So it kind of is a compromise that still works reasonably. If you guys have any other theories, feel free to let me know. Let me know, JP players, do you guys ever have situations that are chaotic like Global, where you have banner week 1, banner week 2, then another banner 3 days later? I don't think you guys have ever had anything like that. So I think that's probably why, but whatever. Now, while we're on the subject of the summons, the reason why I recommend that you guys do not summon on the crossover Extreme Z summon yet is simply because these characters will be available and then some when the new banner drops. This is not my first time talking about this. I have mentioned this on other videos and live streams, so don't write in. Tune, you're too late. I'm not. I've said this multiple times, but I just want to have it in a video again to reinforce the fact. You can summon for this. It is a good deal objectively. 30 dragon stones for 3 multis, so 90 stones for a bunch of summons with 3 guaranteed featured SSRs. It's a pretty good deal in the context of Heroes, especially considering this new class of EZAs. Pretty good. Pretty decent. Best EZA. Number 1, best EZA, Mechikabra. Number 2 is Xenopan. Number 3, I think, are these two, because of their ability to impact categories outside of Heroes. They do lack stuff after the turn 1, but they stack very well and they can still function very well on long form events. And God Trunks is actually pretty decent offensively. Defensively can be a bit of a question mark. Offensively, not bad. The 2 Super Saiyan 3s together are actually pretty good. The worst one of all would be the Vegeks. But I think that this is a pretty decent class of EZAs. So for those of you who are trying to summon for these guys and some of the unfeatures, I don't blame you for summoning. It's a good idea with those discounts. But the reason why I recommend you wait is simply because every one of these characters, including the unfeatured, all have a chance to be pulled in the upcoming summons. Whatever the banner is featured wise, unfeatured will have all of these characters in the general pool. If we go back to last year, that's exactly what happened. It's been like this every single year. The new summons last year were the Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4 Vegito, Super Saiyan 3 Rose, and all these guys, and the unfeatured were all of these. If we go back to last year's Extreme Z summons, all of these guys were getting their EZAs, and look at the unfeatured. Exactly the same. The only difference is that you didn't have the new characters. So basically what I'm trying to say is cast a wider net during your summons to give you a better chance at pulling not only the new characters during every multi, but also you might rope in some of those characters that are getting EZAs at the same time. after you're done with your summons on the new banner, if you still really want to go back in and focus on a subsection summon, you can do that. And I think that this is especially important this year, considering this is the last year that we're going to be having a Heroes celebration. Nobody knows if these characters will be summonable again, even as Extreme Z summons. These are licensed characters that are not a part of an active franchise anymore. I don't know how that is legally going to work with those sorts of characters. Will the story events be available? Maybe. Will the summons be available? I don't know. If you want to take the chance and not summon because they will come back, that's your prerogative. Nobody's stopping you. I just can't say for sure if they're going to be back. These guys are clowns. They do the most illogical, stupid things all the time. So can you really say for sure you know what Dokkan's going to be doing next? I can't. If you want to assume, go ahead. Every time you assume, you activate their trap card and you die. So that's my 2 cents on why I think you should not summon for these characters right away. If you've already done it, I mean, too late. And if you haven't done it yet, hopefully this changes your mind. But if you don't want to listen to me, that is completely your prerogative. I'm not here to force you. I just like to give my opinions, especially when it comes to saving stones or getting the most value, because we are 2 months away, less than 2 months away from the 10-year anniversary. So even if it's not about like saving for Heroes characters who may not come back, the 10-year anniversary is very, very close. And these are going to be some transcendent characters. I mean, you've been seeing a sneak peek of it via this temporary boost that they've given for the year 3, year 4 LRs. If that's not reason enough to save up your stones, I don't know what is. All right, so we've taken care of when the new banner is going to be dropping, why you should not summon on this banner just yet. So now let's talk about the month of November and why it's a very tricky month. Some people have been a little bit confused by this. The reason why the month of November is very tricky is because it is a very different experience on Global and JP. And since we're unified now, certain elements of each celebration have now sort of coalesced into one another, to quote Michael Scott. And here's why. In November, the typical Dokkan festival being 2 weeks gets extended to 3 weeks on JP. This is because they need to make room for a hero celebration at the end of the month, while also not overwhelming the JP players with a secondary summon within a 3-week gap. So either they shoehorn in another banner, or they just extend the one that they have currently by a week. They choose the latter. Last year it was Gohan Piccolo. For 3 weeks, JP players were struggling and it was very slow and very dry. That's normally the time where everyone's like, Dokkan is dead, yay. So that's what's happening again this year. Both Global and JP are experiencing the 3-month or the 3-week slog that is the Dokkan Festival. Normally for Global, we are starting the thank you celebration in November. The thank you celebration is the Tanabata celebration that JP has in the summertime. Global gets it in November. So for 2 to 3 weeks, we are celebrating a pretty big time celebration. And then during the part 1, Heroes starts. So Heroes is a parallel celebration to Global, while for JP, they move into Heroes exclusively after having finished a 3-week slog during their Dokkan Festival. Global then moves into the part 2 for the thank you celebration while still having Heroes parallel, and that part 2 could either sometimes be the thank you part 2, or it could be a simple cash grab. JP players exclusively have Heroes until Heroes is done, and then they move into their next celebration. So now what's happening is Global and JP are experiencing elements of both. Global and JP are experiencing the extended Dokkan Festival for part 1, that is a JP trait, and then Global and JP are also experiencing the Heroes celebration overlapping with their Dokkan Festival, which is a Global trait. Hopefully that makes sense. So now all of that stuff has been explained away. The last thing that I want to talk about in this video is Jiren. This is the last banner that is left on Global's docket to catch up to JP. Before the end of 2024, Global and JP will be in full synchro, as they have stated with their previous videos. So with only one banner left to integrate into the celebration, where is it going to go? I have 3 answers to where this could be happening. Number 1, we could be getting a Jiren banner dropping at the same time as Heroes in a couple of days. If that happens, it's great news in terms of content for Global players. It's horrendous news for Global players when it comes to summoning for characters. I know a lot of people are excited for the Global content that comes with the Jiren celebration, but I've seen a pretty vocal minority of players who want to summon for Jiren. And if Jiren's going to be dropping at the same time as the final Heroes banner, I don't know what some of y'all are going to do. That's going to suck. That's one possible release date. And I guess if anything, if this is going to be happening, it's a pretty poetic time for Global to get Jiren, considering it's 11-11, Universe 11's lead. Kind of a perfect time for it to drop. We might find out tonight. Since the banner for Heroes is going to be dropping on the 11th, the teasers could at the earliest drop tonight. We could see Universal Blue's animation, Emo Pigeon's animation, all the characters' animations, and then the following day we would get the data download. So if Global were to get an extra set of animations for Jiren, that would confirm it. That's one date. Another date would be when the Part 2 banner releases for both versions, Global simply just gets an extra one. As we did in the month of October with Peppy Gals and the Roshi Dokkan Festival. Both dropped at the same time. They have no reason, they have no qualms about doing that to global players once, so why would they not do it again? I don't know what the Part 2 LR is going to be for Lord Slug's Part 1. A lot of people are hoping for that false Super Saiyan Goku. I'm expecting if that's going to be the case, it's just going to be a regular LR Goku in terms of naming. But if that were to be their Part 2 LR, Global could get this at the same time. So November 20th could be when Jiren drops. And in terms of content, again, that's good news. But in terms of summons, actually might be good news. Because some people might not necessarily care about that character depending on how good or bad the character is. It might also give some players enough time after, well, not a whole lot, but you'll have at least 9 days to recover from the hero summons. So that's another possibility. The last possibility is probably the least likely based on how Dokkan has carried themselves so far. And that would be to integrate the Jiren summon into the Rising Dragon Carnival that is set to drop in December. We know that there's going to be a Part 2, there's going to be a Rising Dragon Carnival summon in the month of December. They showed this in the producer's letter diagram where they showed, it said in the December block, Rising Dragon Carnival. My initial theory was that if they're going to be giving us a double rates in December and they want to do another one for Jiren, they have to drop this as early as possible. So that's why I thought sometime in October would have made perfect sense for Jiren. Now that we're so late into the game, if they're going to drop a Carnival banner at the end of November and then another one mid-December, that's back-to-back double rates. Do they really want to be doing that? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Or they simply just put Jiren into this banner. It would be ironic for them to, on the final banner, do the thing that I wanted them to do from the beginning, which is to give global players an opportunity to summon for a brand new character while also summoning for JP's returning character, which just so happens to be new for global, and that's Jiren. So let's just say, for argument's sake, Rising Dragon Carnival 2024 December is going to be Zarbon, okay? LR Zarbon is coming up in mid-December. JP players are getting LR Zarbon for the first time, and Jiren returns for the first time on LR Zarbon's banner. Global gets the exact same banner as JP, and so while JP has one new headliner to deal with, Global has two. That could be cool. Would they do it? I don't personally think so. They have not done this at all so far. Why would they do that here? It could involve, because if they were to do that, this graphic is no longer relevant. They would have to make a new graphic. When it comes to this game, it's all about like preserving and optimizing the use of resources and assets. So could that be a practical approach? Probably not, but it is my other theory, and it's just a theory anyway. So November 11th, November 20th, or December 14th, mid-December, are the three possible release dates that I could see Jiren dropping on global. I don't want it to be this late from the content side, but in terms of the summons, I'm sure most people will probably feel happiest to have this unit drop this late because it gives them adequate time to recover from heroes. Not adequate, but at least like a little bit more breather to recover from heroes. At this point, like, let's just say we got Goku Frieza December 14th. We are getting Goku Frieza a month away from the 10th anniversary. I mean, it's going to be a very short-lived time to experience that event and all its challenges, but welcome to Global. Global has been an absolute chaotic mess for the last year and a half, so why end things now? Why not take things all the way till the end of the year to make things ridiculously chaotic on Global? I don't know. Anyway, that is my overall thoughts on the situation, all my theories, all my ideas. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Yeah, if you have any other ideas for when Jiren could drop, I'd love to hear it. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like down below in the comments your ideas for the Jiren release. What are your thoughts on the Heroes banner release date being 9 days after Lord Slug? Is that enough time? Do you think that JP players needed the break? Do JP players ever have any sort of accelerated scheduling when it comes to summons? Let me know if there's anything else that I missed in the comments down below. Also, be sure to subscribe for more Dokkan content in the future and click the notification bell so that you'll be tuned when you want to see more of us. Do it. Thanks again. Stay tuned, and ours to Dokkan responsibly.